Once a month or so, Dr. David McKenzie drops into Studio 4 to talk about couples in and out of love. He's a theologian, a couples counselor, and sex therapist. It is my pleasure to welcome Dr. David McKenzie back to Studio 4 to talk about crisis points in relationships or in marriages. I guess a marriage is a relationship.
Well, I would hope so.
Uh-huh.
It's interesting you mentioned theologian and sex therapist. My daughter-in-law still struggles with, the Reverend David McKenzie sexologists.
I'm sure. Yeah, you were a preacher? What?
Yeah.
What happened? That's a story another day, and
That's
we can
true.
tell it
Yeah.
another day. And just talking to Greer Grimsley, he met his wife on stage in Carmen, fell in love with her in the opera stage. Isn't that how it goes in the movies?
Well, it's kind of Phantom of the Opera is kind of nice.
I like it. Cinderella, someday my prince will come, and I will live happily ever after.
Well, I hope people don't live their lives by that.
Some do, though. We were raised on that fairy tale.
Yeah.
As you know.
Well, if you're living that that template in your relationship or in your life, you're going to be very frustrated and disappointed. There is no knight in shining armor.
Right. We've got a new DVD out. The 4 Pillars of a Passionate Marriage.
Yes.
What are they?
Well, the first one is mutual respect. Without mutual respect, you can't even reconcile with your enemy. The second one's effective communication.
Ask any politician. Ask Iran.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true. Well, dialogue, the era of dialogue.
You've got
mutual
to talk.
Respect. You're not like me. I don't like what you're doing, but I respect you enough to talk to you.
You bet. And Gottman says that one of the factors that will kill a relationship is contempt, the opposite of respect.
I'm sure.
And so if nations have contempt for each other and don't talk, how do we bring peace about? The second one's effective communication, conflict resolution, which is also international. The third one is emotional intelligence. And the fourth one is healthy distance.
Okay, so emotional intelligence means
that
you have to be mature?
No, we are in touch with what drives us, our inner child.
Okay.
Because a lot of times partners will trigger memories from our past, and we start responding to the memories instead of responding to our partner.
The EI.
That's right, yes. And industry is finding that EI plays a much larger role in success than does IQ.
I'm sure it does, because as you suggested many times, when you're dealing with your spouse or your lover, you're also dealing with your mother and your father.
You bet.
And your grandparents and all the messages you got growing up.
Precisely.
And you're the hurt little girl.
Yeah. And one of the exercises that I ask clients to do is to start to do work on their little child within, the little girl, the little boy.
Right.
It's often the child that drives our lives.
If you were rejected by your father,
mainly
your father
mother
never liked you.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
But the father is actually secondary to the mother. In attachment theory, the relationship we had or did not have with our mother will usually determine later adult attachment styles.
Trust, all of the big ones?
Yeah,
Mutual
of course.
Respect?
Yeah. If you have emotionally unavailable mother, it's going to play havoc with you in life.
Whether you're male or female?
Yes, both male and female.
Emotionally unattached mother?
No, emotionally unavailable mother.
Unavailable mother.
And so if you have a mother and a father, I mean, the father is secondary. The first 2 human beings you ever fell madly in love with were your primary caregivers. And that's going to set you up for a lot of things in life if you don't deal with that. So until we go back and heal the child, oftentimes we are condemned to keep repeating history. We'll keep marrying or hooking up with people who will cheat on us, who will leave us, who will abandon us, or because we have an agenda of avoidance, we will sabotage perfectly good relationships.
That's very interesting. I have a friend whose mother left him when he was very young. She just disappeared.
Wow.
And he has issues.
Yes, I bet.
No wonder.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Emotional intelligence, healthy distance, meaning
well,
you have a life, I have a life, or what?
Too much intimacy kills passion. So couples who are text messaging 8 times a day, on the phone all the time, spend every living minute with each other, will likely have their passion die fairly rapidly in the relationship. Intimacy is important, but too much closeness will kill passion. There has to be distance. So I encourage couples to build distance into their relationship. Spend time apart. Spend mutually agreed time apart. Be prepared for the unpredictable. Build obstacles into your relationship. Various things that make the relationship exciting.
Allow each other to be free.
Oh,
to be who we really
100%.
are. Accept each other. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting about people who don't make a move without calling their spouse.
Yeah.
Are almost addicted.
Yeah. Well, it's a form of enmeshment. And so couples that are just whatever you feel, I feel, whatever you think, I think, we're always with each other, they're actually very unhealthy relationships. And as I've often said on this show and elsewhere, we have to be centered within ourselves and negotiate out of our independent center. We move from the dependency of childhood to the independency of completing our adolescence, which ends around mid to late 30s, to interdependence of adulthood. Two people who are independent but will show interdependence with each other.
Well, if someone finishes your sentences and talks to you 10 times a day, I can't imagine what you talk about over dinner.
Well, yeah.
You know, because you know so much about each other, but you didn't go out and do something new, and he didn't go out and do something new, and you're totally bonded at the hip. So
can you see how that would kill passion?
Of course. What's interesting about you, if you go away, back to our opera couple, 23 years they've been married, they both have careers.
Of course.
And they travel.
Sure.
And they have this core
Well, it's built right into their
similarity.
relationship.
But they have to travel, and they have different roles and different experiences, and I'm sure when they talk at night, I don't know for sure, but perhaps, they have new things to say, and they've had new experiences.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Okay.
No, that's not saying that, that's not to justify people who just spend all sorts of time away from the family and from each other, working 18 hours a day. And we're talking about healthy distance.
Right, that's an escape. A workaholic is an
That's
escape,
right.
and that's a whole other issue another day.
It's an escape from oneself.
So you marry someone like that, I guess you have a crisis point.
Well, you marry somebody like that, it means that you have as big an agenda as he or she does to be distant. There's no such thing as somebody who's got it all together with intimacy and wants intimacy and marries or hooks up with somebody who's terrified of intimacy. The point is you both have a problem with intimacy. And so both of you are serving the same agenda in each to keep distance in the relationship.
I am not perfect?
Well, it's funny, you know, Fanny. I've counseled couples, and I would say 100% of the time, when one couple is the one when one partner is the one fleeing and the other's chasing in the relationship, give me intimacy, give me sex, give me this. Suddenly in therapy at about the 6th or 8th session, the one who's running away turns around and says, okay, I'm going to desire you, I want to communicate. Almost 100% of the time, the one who's been chasing will turn around with a tail between the legs and run the other direction. It's the dance of intimacy.
Be careful what you ask for.
When
you
the gods
just might get it. Sex, and more sex? Okay, I'm in. And they say, well, not tonight.
Exactly.
Headache.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Human beings are really intriguing. When the gods wish to punish us, they answer our prayers.
So, when you're stuck in a relationship and you have a crisis point, you say crisis points are predictable.
That's right. There are 5 of them. The 3-year, 7-year, 10-year, 18, and 25.
3, 7, 10,
18, and 25.
Okay. And that accurate, or could it be 4, 8, 11?
No, it's pretty accurate. Yeah, I mean, the 3 years, the first 3 years of any new relationship, living together, not long distance. We're talking about actually cohabiting. Are the power struggle years. A couple is learning to, how am I going to live with you? How am I going to share power? The second one is the 7-year itch. That, I think, comes from our evolution. In caveman, cavewoman days, frankly, women would need a partner, a pair bond, to help raise the offspring. But by the 5-year to 7, 8-year mark, she's looking for another partner to have another offspring with.
Serial monogamy. I've had a baby with you, and that was swell.
Yeah.
Now I'm going on to number 2.
That's part of our evolutionary heritage.
It is. So the 7-year itch is a real itch,
Very
is what you're
real.
saying.
And it happens in 3rd, 4th, 5th marriages. It happens in all long-term relationships.
Darn. I thought we'd get better at it.
The 10-year one actually is more prevalent.
Stay on the 7-year for a moment.
Okay.
Don't go to 10 yet, because the 7-year itch, more men have it, more women have it.
Both.
Is it equal opportunity?
It's equal opportunity, yeah.
So
it's built
women
into our genes.
And men, 3-year problems too, women and men, the power struggle phase.
Not
it's
as serious
not male,
as,
female.
Yeah, not as serious as the 7. There are relationships that will break up at 7. The critical one is 10. And that is usually with couples who start off in the early to mid-20s. It's usually driven by the female. Is this the man I want to be the father of my children? Is he responsible? Is he over party time? Is this going to be a Disneyland daddy? And so once a woman has answered that question, then she'll go ahead. If there are real problems in the relationship and there's been struggling, most relationships will come to an end at 10 years.
You get the nerve to leave?
Yep.
Is that
Or you're desperate
or
because
you
a woman
were
is
desperate, or you're so unhappy?
All of that. But a woman has usually reached her reproductive threshold. And if she wants children, this is do or die.
So it's it's biological,
Very
obviously, biological.
It's
if you've already had your kids, you still get it.
No, that mainly occurs in relationships where there are no children. It's usually driven by the female more than the male. And it's usually the crisis point in which a woman is at the crossroads. She's making some serious decisions if she wants to have children.
Right,
Now,
of course. Biological clock ticking.
Right. It's not as serious for a woman who's made up her mind that she doesn't want children. It doesn't have as great an impact.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what if you just think, I've been with this man for 10 years, and I do not want to grow old with him.
Yeah, sure. And that, of course.
And if I stay here any longer, it's about the pretty factor for women too. Very often they don't have the confidence. They think, well, don't waste the pretty factor.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't waste the good years because they may not want you when you're 60. So if you're leaving, sister, leave now. It shouldn't be so.
Of course not, but I mean, the fact is, they did a study some time ago, I think it was 2 years ago, men from 18 to 80 years of age, and the age that they were attracted to was between 18 and 22.
18 and 80.
Physically attracted.
Still.
Yeah, yes. That's
well, we know that.
part
Those
of
of
our
us of a
genes.
certain age
Yeah.
know that most of the men our age, if they recycle,
Yeah.
go younger.
Oh, that's
we
right.
call it.
That's right.
Usually 20 years,
Oh, well.
give or take.
Yeah, 10 or 20.
Sometimes 30.
Yeah, after a while there becomes a credibility factor. How does a 50-year-old hook up with a 19-year-old? I mean, what do they have in common? You're always teaching, you know.
And what man has ever wondered about that?
About what?
What we have in common.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, when you're 18.
Exactly.
And I'm 50.
Yeah.
Not many.
Yeah.
Okay, now the crisis point after 10, so
Is,
you make it through 10.
Yeah,
Phew.
10. It could be 15, it could be 18. That usually comes with, and it's often driven by males more than females, the midlife crisis. Around the age of 40, we reach what Carl Jung referred to as the noon of life. For the first time. For the first time, you're on the mountaintop, can see the fog out of which you were born, and now you can see the green valley of your death. There ain't no other half coming up after this next one.
Right.
And so that is life-altering. All
At
your
50
life.
or so.
It's usually around 40.
Okay, because you could live to be 90.
You could, but the point is that 40 is when midlife usually begins. And the work of midlife is quite different from the work of the first half of life. So you'll find people getting into religion in the second half of life, doing other things, getting into themselves. It's usually a balancing out. What you didn't do in the first half, you'll do in the second half.
A man friend of mine said he thought he would be a millionaire at 50, and he wasn't, and so disappointed. He just thought he'd be there.
Yeah.
And they can blame it on anyone, the mother, the father, or the wife.
Yeah.
Why am I not where I thought I would be? It's very disappointing.
Yeah, well, it's no one's fault. We have to take responsibility for our own stuff.
Sure.
And usually a person who's in the victim mode of blaming others will never get on with life. So.
You noticed. I bet you hear that a lot when you see couples and poor me and I do everything right and I'm such a saint.
It's even more subtle than that. When I have a couple communicate with each other, the first thing that comes out of many couples' mouths is, when you make me angry and when you make me happy, I say, whoa, stop. It's impossible to make somebody angry. You can throw that Kleenex box at me and I could respond by getting angry, jumping out the window, laughing. That's my business. All I can do is hold you accountable for assaulting me with a Kleenex box.
Exactly.
And once they get
Your
that,
actions.
Exactly.
But whether I'm happy or not is my deal.
Exactly.
All
You're not
the way to the
responsible
bank.
for other happiness. The last crisis point, that being 25, is often driven by the empty nest. It's more of a female issue. And so when the last child is usually out of the home, a woman can go through a traumatic time.
Even in this era with all women, working women, having careers, women not, I don't mean you don't work at home, but you know, so many more women in the workplace.
Good question.
Following their own path.
Yeah. Women who are involved in their own careers, and that's why women need to get involved in developing themselves before the children leave, or as soon as they leave, get involved in something else, because it helps them with their own mental health. That's a really good point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, too, the couples I know who retire and are happy liked each other at the 3-year point, and the 10-year point, they had a relationship with each other.
Yes.
And as you know, some couples, you know it so well, build their relationship around the children.
That's right.
They focus on the kids. The kids are what drive the relationship. They don't really have one.
And then when they
with
come
one
to be
another,
with each
they
other,
do because of the kids, and they drive to soccer, and they live through the children. Both of them.
I agree with you.
In a sense.
Yeah. And the empty nest is now they're stuck with each other. Who is this? It could be a stranger. It's building the relationship again.
Right.
And it's new.
Well, that's why at the 10-year point, you must ask that question. Is this the person I want to grow old with, I want to be with when the kids are gone, when the dog's dead?
But the thing is, though, Fanny, you can't determine there. The relationship is living and growing.
Right.
At 10 years, you may say, yep, this is the one I want to grow old with. But it's like a railway track that starts to part. If you're not communicating and in touch, you're way out here with each other. So the one that you were getting along with at 10 may be a perfect stranger at 25.
Well, I don't think relationships are simple, for sure. No. And if they don't evolve, that's got to be the worst.
I agree. That's what I'm basically saying. If they're not growing together and evolving together, they're going to be way out here.
If you look at yourself when you were 18, first married, or 20, first married, and what you are today at 60, with the kids gone, if you aren't a different person, a more evolved person, but a still curious person, a still passionate person, a still get out there person. Imagine being married to you.
Well, you grow so radically
in the garden.
you grow so radically between 20 and 30 that if you're not in touch with each other, you will lose the marriage.
Right. But what if you're female and your kids leave and you decide to step out, and your husband has always had you as his, I'm not going to say slave.
Okay.
I'm so not going to say that. But you know.
But very much in her place
Very
at
much
home.
in her place and in her role, and a great mother and wonderful with the kids, and did not step out and follow her particular passions aside from that. And suddenly, the mama takes off. Starts golfing, travels alone.
That's healthy. That is a radical shock to a relationship. If a relationship is locked into and highly controlled, and there's a place for everybody, that's going to be really unsettling. It's actually where the relationship begins to grow and stretch its boundaries.
Exactly. Well, you'll come back, I know, and we'll carry on with the 4 pillars of a passionate marriage.
Just to let you know that it's the hard copies are ready for mailing in about a month.
Okay.
But they can download it online.
Okay, but they're not.
They're not
complete.
They can order it, but they won't receive it for about another 5 weeks.
Okay, and there's questions like, why are men and women different? Oh, I like that one. That's thorny. Do men and women want the same thing sexually? Well, we'll find out.
Okay.
I thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
Dr. David McKenzie, sex therapist, couples counselor, and theologian. Coming up, we meet a New Zealand-born Samoan who is chock full of tales about Pacific Island culture, ancient and contemporary. Stay with us for myth, legends, stories, dance, hymn songs, and poetry inspired by the South Pacific.